Good evening, everyone. My name is Vinita Dillon. I'm the director for new students and family programs. Welcome to our fourth webinar for new families joining us this fall. We have student financial experts on our program today. But before we invite them, I have a request. Please put your devices on mute so that we can go through the presentation without interruptions. As you hear them talk about student financials, you will have questions. Please put those questions in chat so that we can address them once their presentation is over. It would be great if you can stick to questions that are related to student financials until we have the presenters with us. I can stay behind later to answer any questions that are unrelated to today's topic. Happy to do that as always. If you are traveling, driving, unable for any reason to type in your questions, we'll open it up for you to unmute and verbally ask your question towards the end of the hour we have together. With that, I will do a brief summary of what to expect on move-in day, 17th of August, which is a Monday. By early August, your student will receive an email. And in that email will be a bunch of information. Your check-in time for August 17th. It will have their room number, their dorm name, their roommate, their division, if they're part of the core. And all that information, I'm sure all of you are eager to get, but it's coming. It'll be early August when you get it. Based on the time slot you've been assigned, you will arrive at that time a few minutes before that. There will be PD, our police directing traffic. They'll send you to the first available lot. You will park there. And make your way to PIAC. Once you come to the Physical Education and Aquatic Center, your student will be checked in. They will be ushered into our what we call the small gym, where they can pick up their uniform if they're part of the core. If they're not part of the core, they'll hang with you. All the families and supporters will be invited to meet with some of the people you're meeting now online at a resource fair. We'll be there to answer any last minute questions, to welcome you, to get you excited about what your student's going to be doing for the next, hopefully, 2 to 4 years. So we'll all be there. We'll meet you while your student is picking up their uniform. And once you have the uniforms, you've had most of your questions answered, you'll walk back to your car or take a shuttle to your car, depending on where you're located, and drive up to your designated res hall. Once you arrive there, the driver will stay in the car. Everyone else in the vehicle can hop off. You'll have plenty of help from our student volunteers who are going to take your belongings, help take your belongings into your room. The family members who hop off with the student can go there, get them settled, put some, lovely touches into their new home. Before you leave your driving family member, please make sure you know where you're connecting back up. The driving member can take the shuttle, come back to the res hall to check out the room. You can meet somewhere else on campus, but make some plans about how you're gonna connect up. Once you're all settled there, you'll have some time on your own until 4 p.m. or just before 4 p.m. We invite you to come down to Lower Campus. If you've been on campus before, you'll come to the quad. Adjacent to the quad is our only auditorium. It's called RIZA, RIZZA auditorium. Your students will stay on the quad and will meet up with their student leaders, practice some formation while you are inside the auditorium, and our campus leadership will have the pleasure of meeting you, making some remarks. There'll be some beverages for you to cool off and just take a moment for about 30 minutes while your students are doing some stuff outside. Um, right at that time, at 4:30, we will bring you back out and we'll have a campus ceremony for our traditional students and a capping ceremony for our core students. And from there, if you've chosen to have dinner with us, we'll walk over to the waterfront in front of our dining center, and there'll be a band playing. We'll have food inside the dining center that you can grab and come outside, have a nice meal with your student, get to meet other parents. Some of us will be walking around, getting to know you a little better. So about till 6:30, that's going to happen. And then we're going to take your students over to Riza for their first meeting. And the family members and supporters will be heading out for the evening to wherever, whatever you're doing next. I'm still working on the logistics to have um, parents and supporters come to campus the next morning for a breakfast with your student, and we'll have details of that probably the 4th of August, if not, then definitely the 6th of August. That's everything I have in terms of your first day here, 17th of August. Your student will start their orientation next morning, bright and early. It goes all the way until Saturday afternoon. We're hoping to take your students to San Francisco maybe on Sunday, still working on those details. With that, one recommendation for your day here on the 17th, dress in layers, warm afternoons, and chilly, windy evenings. Comfortable shoes are definite requirement for the day. You'll be walking around, helping your student. So keep that in mind. Depending on your time, you might have a window where you could run to Target or to a local grocery store to do any last minute pickup that you hadn't thought of, or something that sounds great to do. You'll have that window between your time of finishing up in the room and before 4 o'clock. So if you leave campus, keep in mind that you have to come back, park, and get yourself to where you need to be, which is the quad. Spots fill up quickly, so be mindful of that. That's all she wrote about Monday the 17th. If you stay behind later and have any follow-up questions, I'm happy to cover those. Now I want to thank our panelists for being here, taking time out of their evening to connect with all of you. Welcome, and I will do a quick popcorn over to the first person I see on my screen from our presenters, and they will speak about what they do. And once everyone has presented, we'll start with Q&A. Presenters, thank you so much for being here. Please wait for me to read out the questions from chat as you answer them. I have Saul on my screen. So welcome, Saul.
Hi, Benita. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Saul Ramirez. I'm the Director of Financial Aid at Cal Maritime. Benita, do I have access to share? There we go. All right. So I could probably go on talking about financial aid, and you probably have a lot of questions about financial aid as well. We could probably spend 3, 4, 5 hours here talking about the financial aid and what you need to know. I've had a hard time, but I narrowed it down to maybe 10 slides or so about financial aid, understanding that this is general financial aid. Um, if you do have specific questions to you as they apply to your family, your son, your daughter, please reach out to our office. I will provide the contact information at the end of the slide deck here. But hopefully with a few slides that I have here, you're able to walk away with more knowledge than what you came in with. So with that, let's see if we can share. You should be able to see my screen. Is everybody able to see the screen? Okay. Yep. All right, good. All right, first things first. So everybody hopefully should have already applied for financial aid, and students would have either filed the FAFSA or the DREAM Act application. So FAFSA is for U.S. citizens, students who have Social Security would have done the FAFSA application. Students who do not have a valid Social Security, undocumented students can still receive financial aid through the California DREAM Act application. Again, so hopefully everybody has already applied. If you haven't, it is not too late. You can still apply for that. Unique and specific to this year because of the integration. If you applied and you have not received anything, any communication, financial aid award from Cal Maritime or Cal Poly, it is most likely related to the fact that, again, because of the integration this year, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo has to be on the FAFSA. I realize that students are coming to Cal Maritime, and in any other year, without the integration, Cal Maritime would have been the only school that you list on the FAFSA, and we would have been able to process it. Because of the integration, all FAFSAs are coming through to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. The financial aid there is receiving those applications and processing and determining financial aid eligibility. So if Cal Poly San Luis Obispo is not listed on the FAFSA, there is no way for Cal Maritime to receive them and process them. So if you're not have not heard anything, you filed the FAFSA wondering what is going on, it's almost the beginning of the year, academic year, and we haven't heard anything, it is most likely related to that. Easy fix. It can still be fixed. Simple step, going back on the FAFSA. And this is the student. The student has to go in on their FAFSA application and making sure that San Luis Obispo is added. Once San Luis Obispo is added, within probably 2 to 3 weeks, we can receive the information. San Luis Obispo will receive the information, turn around, and then you should be able to see what financial aid the student is eligible for. Um, I will say that if you've already done this, but you did it within April 27th, and let's say today, there's been a federal freeze of processing FAFSA applications, so we haven't been able to do anything with them, but we will resume next week. So if you already knew this was a problem, you've already updated that, please give us another week or two, and we will have your financial aid posted and ready. For everyone else, you should already have received your financial aid eligibility. This is the website for financial aid now. So all financial aid information, inquiries, this is where you will go to research to find out some of the, go back and review some of the information that I'm going to be giving you today. But it is now through calpoly.edu/financial aid, financial dash aid. I know we have a page within Cal Maritime still, it's still active. It is very limited information that is on there, and it's still referring you back to here. So I want to point out this is the primary website where you should be going for questions or resources related to financial aid. With scholarships, one of the things that is won't be awarded through FAFSA is scholarships, mostly because some of them are merit. But for the first year, we are using the admissions application. So any information that came through on your admission on the student's admissions application, we would be looking at that in combination to maybe some of the FAFSA information that came through to determine whether the student qualifies for scholarship specifically the first year. So students coming in as freshmen, they don't apply for scholarships, institutional scholarships, Cal Poly, Cal Maritime scholarships. There isn't a separate application process. It's already built into the admissions application and the FAFSA application. However, Their students' second, third, and fourth year, there is a separate application process, and it's through the students' My Cal Poly portal that students can apply for other scholarships available to them, again, in their second, third, and fourth year. Um, we do outreach. Students are expected to receive emails. We post flyers. So there's a marketing campaign inviting students to apply. It's just important that they pay attention to those so that they know that they can apply for additional scholarships. But otherwise, as incoming students, there isn't a separate process. I will say, though, that students are encouraged to apply for external scholarships. So those are outside clubs, organizations, within the website that I just showed you, there's a section in there that provides additional materials, additional resources so students can apply for these external scholarship opportunities. All right, so where do students view their financial aid? Within their portal, there should be a section on there that is called Money Matters. That's where students will want to click in to view their financial aid and other resources. We'll talk about some in a second here, but on the left-hand side, that menu there to view the financial aid, assuming that there was a FAFSA, it's already been processed, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo was listed. When a student goes into their Money Matters tab and clicks View Financial Aid, they will be able to see something similar to this. It won't be exactly like this. Every student's financial aid package is going to vary. This is just one example, but it gives them a breakdown of what they are getting. And by type, you'll notice here in the middle, it says type grant. So this particular student received a grant, was awarded a grant, received a scholarship, a middle class scholarship, and also 2 loans. Further far right, the column on the far right, accepted. You'll notice that if you compare offered and accepted columns, 2,400 was offered, 24 accepted. That's because that's a grant. We automatically accept grants. This particular scholarship, although not all, but this one was automatically accepted. The student does not have to take action on the first 2 here. They've already accepted. The student does have to take action, though. If the student was awarded a loan, you'll notice in the offered, they were offered $3,500 in a loan, but we have not accepted. We will never accept a loan on the student's behalf. The student does have to take action and accept one or both of the loans, whichever one they want. And do additional steps, entrance counseling and promissory note. Students will get additional emails and to-do list items letting them know, hey, you accepted a loan, but you have to do other things. It's not as easy as just clicking that button and accepting it. In case the student didn't mean to accept it, there are additional steps that they have to take. But otherwise, this is their financial aid package. This is where you will be able to see it. Know that it is also dynamic. This could change, especially if the student is awarded other scholarships, other grants, stipends, any other financial resource that the student receives could have an impact on the financial aid that was initially awarded to them, specifically items like the middle class scholarship. Right now, we're saying this student qualifies for that estimated MCS, the second one here for 4,500, 4,549. That is based on everything else considered. That is based on $2,400 grant on the loans. However, if a $10,000 scholarship comes in tomorrow, then that may reduce the estimated MCS 2.0. So again, the financial aid could change, especially if the student receives additional resources later on. Did I miss a step? No. Okay. Additionally, this particular student doesn't have it. Actually, they do have the middle class. I take it back. They don't have the Cal Grant, but if the student had a Cal Grant and or like in this case, the middle class scholarship, MCS 2.0, the student should be also creating an account with the California Student Aid Commission. So the California Student Aid Commission is the governing body here in California that awards grants, state grants, like the Cal Grant, like the Middle Class Scholarship, and a few others. But it's important that the student needs to create an account here to let them know, hey, I'm going to go to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, or Cal Poly Maritime, sorry, and I want my grant to be sent to them. So they have to create an account, and that's what this is. This slide is indicating that students need to go in, and the portal is called Web Grants for Students. That's the URL there. But to go in and make sure that Cal Poly is listed as a school. And again, we're talking about Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, even though the money will eventually make its way to Cal Maritime. That is only for students who in this slide have a Cal Grant or a middle class scholarship. The student doesn't have a Cal Grant, but they do have a middle class scholarship. So this particular student would go in and take action and make sure that Cal Poly is listed as a school. If the student was just awarded loans, they don't need to go in here. They're not eligible for middle class for Cal Grant, so they don't need to take action on this particular portal. I talk about taking action on the loans. They need to be accepted. So that's the subsidized and the unsubsidized loan. These are automatically awarded to students through the FAFSA. But there are additional loans available that students can take out. One of them, they will need parent assistance. So that's the Parent Plus loan. That's the middle one that you see on here. Parents can start applying for that Parent Plus loan as early as a couple of weeks ago. July 1st is when the application opened. Important to note also that Cal Poly San Luis Obispo needs to be listed as perhaps you as a parent, if you're interested in that Parent Plus loan and you're applying, make sure that San Luis Obispo is listed. If you've already applied and indicated Maritime, you'll need to go back and make the switch to San Luis Obispo. That school code 001143, you see it on here on there. The other type of loan is the private loan. And this is a private loan is on the student's name, whereas the Parent Plus loan is under the parent's name. So the repayment responsibility falls on the parent for that Parent Plus loan. The payment responsibility falls on the student for a private loan. A private loan is I am a student, I need additional funding, looking into getting a private loan. The student would go to any lending institution, credit union, bank, and submit an application. Most of them are done electronically. They just go to their website, look for an educational loan, and apply. It will run their credit, so it's based on credit approval. I know most students have little or no credit, so it may ask for a cosigner. So you as a parent may need to cosign on that loan if needed. Interest rates are different depending on the lender, so students are encouraged to shop around and see which one gives them a better interest rate if private loan is the route that the student is going to be taking. But those are the options for loans. Should additional assistance be needed if financial aid is not enough to cover all the expenses. A couple of loan changes effective this July for the upcoming academic year as new borrowers. With the Parent Plus loan, the change now is that there is a limit per student. And so you as a parent, if you're planning on taking out a Parent Plus loan, the maximum amount that you could borrow for 1 year for one student is $20,000. So let's say you're short $30,000 because financial aid wasn't enough and you still need $30,000. The maximum that we can give you or give the student on your behalf as a parent borrower is $20,000. With that said, and keep that in mind, is that there is also a lifetime limit of $65,000. So if you're needing $20,000 per year and it's going to take 4 years for the student to graduate, we're talking about $80,000. But the limit is $65,000. So you won't have enough. If you're borrowing 20,000 every year, you're going to cap at a little over 3 years, 3 years and change. That means the last year, the student, you won't be able to take out a Parent Plus loan on the student's behalf. They can still go back and take out a private loan, that's fine. But if you're planning on borrowing a Parent Plus loan over the 4 years, make sure that you're borrowing less. You don't have to take out the 20,000 if you don't need to. Obviously, if you need to, you don't have much of a choice, but know that at the tail end of it, you will be have exhausted or reached that limit of $65,000. So just throwing that out there as you're borrowing the loans and calculating exactly how much it is that you need. Back to the student portal, the other thing that you'll be able to see on here on the left-hand side menu there is the financial aid summary. Earlier, we looked at the financial aid itself. The financial aid summary provides a breakdown. These are not expanded here, but if you were to expand the fall semester and spring semester, it'll give you the cost of attendance. How much will it cost per semester? This gives you the total, so that's a summary, but it'll give you a more detailed breakdown of all the cost involved. This particular one, total cost of attendance is $41,000. The student aid index is $24,000. This number came from the FAFSA, and that's just an indicator to tell us what kind of financial aid the student is eligible for. Um, and so the difference between the two, that means that the student still has a need of $17,000 there, and their total aid is $12,000. So those numbers are summary. But again, if you expand those, if you were to go to this section and expand the fall semester separately and the spring semester, it'll give you the cost for tuition, for housing, for meals. If the student has a need to uniform, that'll be included in their miscellaneous expenses and a few others. It'll break down exactly where that $20,000 is going. On the left side navigation, one of the other things that I want to talk about is the to-do list. So students should get in the habit of checking their to-do list items, especially right now. Sometimes we request additional information. To-do list means the student has to take action on something. They need to provide us documentation. They need to do something on their end, like loans. If they accepted a loan, they're going to have a to-do list item of the other two things that are required, the entrance counseling and the promissory note. Both of them will be listed on here. One of the biggest mistakes and oversights from students is I accepted the loan, they're waiting on the money, and they haven't completed the to-do list. It's on here, but they just didn't click further down to view that there are other requirements that they have to complete. So make sure that your student gets in the habit of checking those to-do list items and also the holds. You'll notice on the bottom right-hand corner, if the student has any holds that could impact perhaps registration, they need to make sure that they address those so that come registration, their registration isn't delayed because of any holds that they need to address. This is an example of one of the to-do list items that could be on there. So this particular student was selected for what's called verification. That means FAFSA, when the student filled out the FAFSA, Department of Ed gave us that information and said, oh, FYI, you got to collect something from the student, and that something is just verification of their identity, usually in the form of a government issued ID. That's what this is. Not every student has to do this. There's only those students that are selected by Department of Ed. Some other students may have to do perhaps verification of veteran status, so like a DD 214, or verification of their tax filing. There's various other documents that the student could or would need to submit, and it'll be listed on here. If the student doesn't see any to-do list items or they don't have this verification, don't submit anything. There's no point, no need in submitting unless it's listed on their account. Once submitted, it could take anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks to process. So make sure that students do not wait until the very last minute, especially as school gets started, especially as fees are due, to submit the documents or the information, and expect a turnaround time of 1 to 2 weeks. With the volume of information and documents that we have to process, it will take that long. And like I said, anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks is the expected turnaround time for this type of information. What that means is that it could take us anywhere between 8 to 12 weeks to review and turn around and determine their financial aid eligibility. I wanted to highlight the disbursement date. Disbursement means that this is the first date that we are able to release financial aid for the fall semester, and that's going to be August 17th. What that means is that on August 17th, what we do is we take the students' financial aid resources, which we saw earlier, and we release those funds. We give them to student accounting and cashiering, and we say, hey, this student is receiving $10,000, pay off any balance that they have. And if there's money left over, issue a refund back to them. If it's not enough, then that's where you need to determine, do I need to borrow Parent Plus loan? Do I need to borrow a private loan? Can I pay out of pocket? So those are some of the options if financial aid isn't enough to cover the entire balance. Some of the things that could delay that first release is student not being enrolled, not being enrolled in at least 12 units, having to-do list items. So the student hasn't taken action on some of the things they need to complete, especially verification. So that process of we still haven't received your tax return. We still haven't received your passport or whatever it is that we're asking. Those are some of the things that will delay that, which means the financial aid won't get released on the 17th. It'll get released once we receive whatever it is that is missing or outstanding. Um, Special circumstances. So we realized that on the FAFSA, you were asked to provide information from 2024. So that was 2 years ago. Things might have changed since. So there is a process to update us on your current financial situation, whether that was, unfortunately, you got laid off. Things happen. That kind of thing unfortunately happens. So we want to make sure that we reassess the financial aid eligibility. So you can do what's called an SAI appeal. We'll ask for documentation. So letter from the employer, when did you get laid off? What was the last pay stub that you received? Tax information from perhaps 2025. So we'll ask for documentation and proof. But again, we want to make sure that the student's financial aid reflects your current financial picture and not what it was 2 years ago. That's just one example laid off. Perhaps there was a death in the family. Unfortunately, one of the parents has passed. Maybe there was a divorce is another reason. So anytime there is a change or a drop in income, um, compared to what was reported in 2024, you want to look at submitting an SAI appeal. Um, I think lastly, we're coming to an end here, but FERPA. So the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, what this is it protects the student and the student's right to privacy. There is a lot of information that we cannot share with you as a parent. And I realize that you're paying for their tuition. You have the credit card. I realize that you entered your tax information. I realize that a lot of it is your information. However, to the federal government, their priority is protecting the student's rights. So unless the student releases what the authorization to release information or signs off on the authorization to release information, we can't release a lot of information to you. If you were to call and want to receive financial aid, information about financial aid, the student would have to submit one of these authorizing our office, the financial aid office, to speak to you and release information to you. Otherwise, the only thing that we can release to you is whatever is public, whatever's on the website, letting you know, yeah, you can apply for a Parent Plus loan. I can't tell you how much a student received in anything. I can't tell you whether a refund has been issued. So our hands are really tied as far as how much information we can release, unless the student, and it's the student signing off on this authorization to release. They're the ones who need to fill it out and say, hey, I want so-and-so, my mom, or so-and-so, my dad, to receive information from your office. And they indicate which office. That way, when you call or email, we can release. Even then, it's limited information, but we can release and speak to you and give you more information and be more helpful than not having it in place. This is, if you have any questions, this is contact information. So physically for Cal Maritime, we are on campus. So we have an office here. I am at Maritime. I am in what's called Mayo Hall in room 126. So as the students come back to campus, if they need assistance in person, this is where they would find me. They or you can contact via email. So financial aid at Cal Poly, or also give us a call on the phone numbers listed on there. And I think that is it.
Wow, that was so comprehensive and you went through it super fast. So expect some questions. But before we head there, I would like to open it up to John and Judy to share their presentation. And then we'll go back to these questions. And perhaps, Saul, are you able to share this presentation with any family member who might want to look at it?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I can put it in PDF. And do you want me to send it to you?
That would be amazing. And that's for the attendees here as well. If you wish to get a copy or, have that forwarded to you, just email me. I'll put my information in chat again, if you don't already have it. And I'll be happy to forward you the presentation as well. With that, Judy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Judy Ortega. I work in student accounts and I am the backup university cashier. And I will forward this to John. Go ahead, John. You're on mute, John.
You're on mute.
That would be that one. My name is John. I am the interim assistant director of student financial services, which is student accounts and the university cashier's office here in San Luis Obispo on the San Luis Obispo campus. I actually have been doing a presentation similar to this for the last 10 years for the new student and transition programs that we run here called Slow Days. So this is a sort of a reduced version of it because So did such a great job covering the financial aid portion. I usually get to cover that as well in the presentation, so that's one less thing I have to get into. And I'm going to keep this presentation at a really high level, mostly because we can get super granular and generate a lot of questions, but each of your cases is going to be different. And we really strongly recommend that if you have a specific question with regards to your particular case, then by all means contact our student accounts office. We are available 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, and I'll have that contact information up in a moment. But some basic concepts we're going to cover today, and this is the first and most important one, is that at Cal Poly, it is the student account. It is not the family account. It's not the parent account. Ultimately, the student is responsible for their education. And that's not just going to the classes and getting the grades and getting the units and getting the degree. It is actually being responsible for getting the bills paid, facilitating those payments, whether that's using financial aid, whether it's using the student's own resources, mom and dad's resources. It doesn't matter from Cal Poly standpoint because ultimately, if a student does leave the university and there is a balance that is still due, it is the student that's going to hold that responsibility as well. And as part of Cal Poly's Learn by Doing culture, we accept that responsibility and place all of the responsibility on the student to facilitate the payments. So it's a pretty big, heavy to kind of understand, and just understand that also from our office, as well as from the financial aid office, everything is driven by the student, either through their Cal Poly portal, and all of our communications are going only to the student and to nobody else. So I just want to let that one simmer for a moment because I know it's a very big, difficult concept, especially for supporters to wrap their heads around. I will say, as a part of an interlude, I've been at Cal Poly for 10 years, and I've been in student accounts and the solution support facilitator for student accounts, which essentially means all inbound and outbound communications into our office go through either me or one of the great student assistants that we have in our office. Sometimes you get to speak to staff, and certainly if you have questions that are particular to the Maritime campus in Solano, you might get to speak with Judy or even Erna in that office. But a lot of the heavy lifting in our office gets done by our student assistants, who are incredible at answering questions and steering you, the student or a supporter, towards the path, towards whatever the solution is to your issue. So that's been my job for almost 10 years here at Cal Poly. But more importantly, in this particular instance, I've had two kids go to college. Unfortunately for my pocketbook, neither of them went to a state school. They all went to much more expensive institutions. And I've been where supporters are, where you're sitting there and you're watching this young person you've raised from nothing, and they're now all of a sudden going to a great school. And it's a great education they're going to get, and they're extending their wings and becoming individual adults. And at the same time, with that giddy glee, there's also this trepidation because we all know college is not cheap, right? There's a lot of money involved here. And even if it is financial aid that's covering the vast majority, if not all of it, it's still a lot of money. And here it is. I'm saying to you, ultimately, the responsibility of getting all that facilitated is on the student at this university. And you're going to be going, well, how does that work? This is a transition of responsibility from the supporter, the parent, who's been doing most everything up to now, to the student who now has to do everything and facilitate any aspect. If an email is coming to the student, it has to go to, and the supporter is going to be the one facilitating the payment. The student is the one that has to share that email because we're not sending it to anybody. We don't even have a list for that. So first step is, it is the student account. It is not the family account, and it's not the parent account. Everything we do is done through the student. So let's talk a little bit about some of the resources that Cal Poly has for everybody, students and supporters, and differentiate what's for whom and who has access to what. The very best general resource for everybody is the student accounts website at Cal Poly. And that is accessed by typing in the address bar sa.calpoly.edu. When you press that, type that into the address bar and hit enter, it will resolve to our student accounts webpage, which looks just like this. It shows important dates across the top. There also are some really wonderful tools. If fees haven't posted yet for first years, so you'll get to see those in a matter of about a month, but they're there, or they will be there, but you can estimate what the fees will be right now by using our fee estimate calculator that's on this website. We do also have an outline of all fees, including, I saw questions for like, well, what about summer C term? Hey, those fees are out there and you can see what is likely to happen, or what happened last year and kind of base it off that. It's all here on this website, absolutely available, super easy to navigate. But the most important and most valuable tool that's on this website right now for you is this. It's video guides. We have these for both supporters and students. This presentation, actually it's several years old, but the new one is being sliced and diced right now, and it will be available in the supporter track. But the student track has short video guides with step-by-step instructions, including screenshots on how to do most everything that we're talking about today and how the student is going to keep their supporters in the loop. So that is the most general and most effective general resource that's available to you. Now for students, the best resource for you is that Money Matters that Saul was talking about. It is in your Cal Poly portal. You're going to sign into my.calpoly.edu, my.calpoly.edu, and right across the top of that main page in your portal are several major tabs. One of them says Money Matters. And when you click on it, it will show you account balances. Your financial aid awards you can access through that particular page. We're working on a revamp of this page that is even more integrated, showing both financial aid that is anticipated and how that will integrate with the charges that are going to be posting to the account. Right now, it just shows charges and balances, and in a separate section, you can see financial aid pending. We recommend students that you check Money Matters in your portal on a regular basis. And that would be like once a week is fine. You don't have to do it every day, but doing it once a month, I promise you there will be fees that will pop up and you're going to go, what? I didn't know that we're there. Well, that's because you weren't checking. Check once a week and maybe make Monday a Money Matters Monday. It's a really great financial habit to have the rest of your life, to be paying attention to your money matters. And remember, all communication is going to go to you, the student, through your Cal Poly email address. And then you also can look and see what's going on in Money Matters on a regular basis. Anything you want a supporter to get access to, students, you need to do something to make that happen. So let's kind of talk a little bit more about that. What do we have for supporters? Because it is the student account. What do we have for supporters? Well, for supporters, there is something called Share My Information. Now, Share My Information is a separate reporting portlet. And what it does is it allows students to set up reports that are real time with real time data that will show to a supporter exactly what the student sees in Money Matters. It's a really powerful reporting mechanism. The architecture looks a little different than the screenshot I'm going to show you from Money Matters in a moment, but it's a really powerful tool, and financial aid is viewable in this. Financial aid that's anticipated is viewable. Charges and balances that still need to be paid are viewable. What's due and when, into which bucket, it's all viewable in these Share My Information reports. And like always, it is managed and set up by the student. The student sets up Share My Information reports by going into their Money Matters in their Cal Poly portal, scrolling to the very bottom, and there's a box that says Share My Info. And in that box, you're going to set up reports for whatever supporters you want to share those with. And again, it shows all the same information that's in Money Matters. And if you want instructions on how to do that, there is a video guide with step-by-step instructions, including screenshots of how to set up Share My Information reports for your supporters. Now, the other best general resource we have, and I mentioned it earlier, is our office. We are available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, at this phone number. It is the San Luis Obispo main line, but through the magic of voice over internet protocol phones, even the folks up in Solano campus will be able to be a part of those conversations. So you may call and get Judy on the line or Erna in that office. So you're welcome to call this number, but you will get somebody who will answer your call and be able to guide you through your questions about your particular student account. And you can also send us emails at studentaccounts@calpoly.edu. Service time on that is a little bit slower. It can run 1 to 2 business days from the time we get the email before we're able to reply back. So best bet is just give a phone call to our office. We are pretty busy. This time of year, we're doing 150 to 200 phone calls a day, but we do manage to get through those phone calls just fine. And we do have plenty of students and staff to be able to manage that service load. And we're happy to help you. Now, the second way that students keep their supporters in the loop is federal law. It is called FERPA, and I also I'll mention this as well. It's called the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. And what that law basically says is this: students, your information is your information and nobody else's. We are not allowed to share that information with anybody, including mom or dad, without your express consent. And that is done by another module in the student's Cal Poly portal. It's called Authorized to Release. It's most easily accessed by going to your my.calpoly.edu portal, clicking on Money Matters at the top, scrolling down right below the gold Make a Payment Now button in Money Matters or 6 self-service options. You'll definitely want to review all 6 because they're very helpful options. And one of them says Authorized to Release, and in parentheses, it says FERPA. When you click on that option, it's going to open up a module in your secure portal where you can plug in a person's name who will be authorized to have information released to them. You're going to grant them a 4-digit access code, an expiration date for that authorization, and then below that, you're going to start authorizing offices, and each office has multiple authorizations. If you are authorizing student accounts, that would be Student Financial Services in this module. And we have 2 different authorizations. So you'd want 2 lines under that person's name for both authorizations out of our office. If you have financial aid and you want to authorize the financial aid office to release information, there's 3 more lines you would want to add to this. So a student with financial aid authorizing a supporter to receive information from all offices would want 5 lines below that person's name. And I skipped over the most important part of that whole thing. And that is when you start, you're going to plug the person receiving the authorized release information, You plug in their name, and then right next to it, you're going to put in a 4-digit access code, students. It's like a PIN. Students get to enter that number. They assign that access code, whatever numbers they want to, whatever pops into their head, that's what they put in there. But the deal is when you call an office, whether it's us or the financial aid office, and you're talking to us, if you're a supporter, we're going to ask the question, what is your name and 4-digit access code? Now, supporters are pretty good about the name part, but that 4-digit access code is when things start to kind of break down and people go, my student set it up, but I don't know what it was. And that's because the student failed to share that with their supporters. So students, when you're setting up authorized to release, and you definitely want to do it, it's really important for people when they're calling offices at Cal Poly to know their authorized release access code, as well as your student 9-digit EMPL ID. And we'll talk about that really quick as well. So the 9-digit EMPL it's like there's only 2 identifiers our office can use to look up a student account. That is your 9-digit EMPL ID, which is just a student ID assigned by the university, or your full social security number. And quite frankly, we don't really want you sharing your social security number with anybody, including us. We would much rather be looking it up using that EMPL ID. So go to your my.calpoly.edu website right now, go into your portal. This time, instead of Money Matters, click on Personal Info across the top. Right below your name is that 9-digit number. We recommend taking that number out, putting it in your phone so you can access it quickly, so you don't have to log into your portal to pull it up every time you're asked what that number is, and share it with anybody that's going to be contacting either office, financial aid, or student accounts, because that is what we need in order to look at a particular student account. The EMPL ID, and then again, if it's a supporter, we're looking for that FERPA authorization, and we definitely need that 4-digit access code. So students, make sure you share that with your supporters as well. Very quickly, what to pay, when to pay, and how to pay. I know I don't want to go too deep into this and spend too much time, but at Cal Poly, charges are broken into 3 what we call buckets. We post charges and collect payments for 3 different entities on campus. We post charges and collect payments for registration and other fees. That's your education cost. That is run by the state. We also post charges and collect payments for university housing. They're the ones who manage the rooms that you are staying in. And then we also post charges and collect payments for campus dining, who take care of the food that you are eating. They are separate entities. We post those charges and we collect payments for each of those entities. They are separate. If you pay housing $750, that money is going to go to housing. If you meant to pay it for dining instead, we're going to have to, first off, know, so you'd have to tell us, then we manually have to contact dining and say, hey, we meant that to go to housing. Can we get the money back? And now we got to give it to housing. It's a laborious process. It takes days to happen. And if that payment was creating a registration hold, you're going to have to wait for that payment to kind of be moved around. So we do recommend, make sure when you're making payments that you pay each of the buckets that you're supposed to pay by the due date to avoid a registration hold. And remember, all that communication is always going to the student through their Cal Poly email address or viewable in Money Matters. And nobody else is getting that information. For new students, this is what Money Matters is going to look like. This is a California resident student. This is registration and other fees for the fall semester, and housing for the fall semester, and dining for the fall semester. Now, these are numbers for here in San Luis Obispo. They'll be different in Maritime a little bit, but these are the numbers that are going to be viewable very soon for Maritime students. And as soon as we get that all out there, we believe everything should be out no later than August 6th. Maritime, it may be sooner, but they're dealing with housing assignments and dining programs, and it's just a matter that we know that by August 6th, everything will be viewable in Money Matters for the students, or share my information reports for supporters if the students have set you up with those. As far as when to pay, registration tuition is due, generally speaking, a couple of days before classes begin each term. And you can see these general due dates on our website right across the top banner for the upcoming term. Also, future due dates are viewable inside the payments module in our website for future terms. So you can start planning accordingly if you want to plan out what spring will look like. But for fall, financial aid is expected to disperse a week before classes begin. Now, this is for San Luis Obispo, and that is going to be on August 17th. Classes in SLO are going to begin on August 24th, and our due date is expected to be on August 19th after aid has dispersed and applied. So that's always something to pay attention to in general, but in specific, it is also viewable in the Students Cal Poly portal in Money Matters under Unpaid Charges. You can see the registration and other fees is put out there with one single due date. You can enroll in a term payment plan. They are available. Students are going to do this for themselves. It is done through your student center. It takes about 30 seconds to enroll in a term payment plan. There is no cost for enrolling in the term payment plan, but you must enroll in one if you want one. It is not done automatically for you. However, housing and dining charges, when they post, will have due dates of September 1, October, November, and December 1, and they will be split. Those fees for fall term will be split into 4 payment due dates and amounts, just like for this particular student. Spring term will be exactly like fall, except for slightly different dates, obviously. But again, we'll post registration and other fees. It'll be one lump sum, but the student can enroll in a term payment plan. Housing and dining will be broken into monthly due dates and amounts automatically for the spring term. Those due dates will be February, March, April, and May 1st for housing and dining. And don't hold me to this, but I believe it is sometime late January, mid-late January for the due date for registration and other fees. It is again going to be 2 days after financial aid disperses, which is always 1 week before classes begin. So those are the general due dates, but they are also viewable in Money Matters, as well as those specific due dates are viewable in Share My Information reports, as well as in payment portals. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm going to skip through these because this is part of that other deck, and I want to get to the how to pay. Cal Poly is willing to take payments in a number of different ways. You can pay us online. You can pay us online coming from a 529. You can pay us in person at our university cashier's offices, or you can pay us by mail. So how does that all work? Well, let's start with the best and fastest way to make a payment to Cal Poly, and that is actually online, and that is by the student through the student payment portal using the Go Make a Payment Now button in Money Matters. Once you're logging in, we have multiple ways to pay us online, but the bestest way is with an electronic check because it is free. It does not cost anything. It's just like writing a paper check. And I know for students that may not even know what I'm talking about when I say that, but it uses what they call ACH protocol transfer request. It's a payment coming out of a regular checking or savings account. You're going to log in a routing number and an account number, and that money you're going to get instant credit for the payment when you make it, and the money will come out of the bank account the next business day. And again, electronic checks are free. And again, you get instant credit for the payment when the payment is made during regular business hours. Credit or debit cards can be used in these online payment portals. There is an additional fee for using your credit card or debit card there. Understand that if you're using a debit card, you likely have a regular checking or savings account. So don't use the debit card and pay the fee. Use an electronic check and do it for free. You still get instant credit, though, if you use a credit card or a debit card. So that means the payment will log when you make the payment. And so if it is past due, the hold can come off automatically within an hour during regular business hours. Selected 529 accounts are on our payment portal as well. There are only about 30 of them. They're all state-run accounts, the biggest of which is ScholarShare here in California. The other 529 accounts, there's a way we'll talk about that in a moment. International transfers are also possible. Those are done. They originate at our payment portal, and then they are facilitated by Flywire, which will allow that wire transfer from your home country if you're an international student. Now, most 529s will, if they're not on our payment portal, most 529s can now send us money electronically. and you start that payment actually at the 529 portal. You can also start a payment by a paper check from the 529 portal, but it will not get to us anywhere near as quickly as the electronic version. There are a couple of big players in the 529 space that don't do this and don't honor this electronic transfer. But try it with your 529, go into your 529 portal, you, the custodian, as in the parent or supporter or whoever it is that owns that account, go into your 529 and say, I want to send Cal Poly X number of dollars from my 529. You may still want a payment portal or those share my information reports to know how much to send, because we can only accept payments for the amounts that are on the account. We cannot accept, you can't just pay us for the whole year and hope we apply the money properly. We will only accept payments for the balances that are on the account. But if you are able to do it electronically, we'll get those payments within 2 to 3 business days, so the student gets credit for those payments pretty quickly. And then, of course, you can take cash or a paper check to the cashier's office, although that is here in SLO. We are cashless in the Solano campus, so we will only take a paper check at the Solano campus at this time. And then lastly, you can also mail paper checks to our cashier's office. The main address is the one here in San Luis Obispo. If you have the access to the paper, to the address at the Solano campus, you're welcome to use that. They will still get processed by our cashiers, who are a unified team in 2 locations, and they will take care of making sure that that payment applies. Now, how do you do that payment? The best way is online. Students are going to access the gold Make a Payment Now button to get into their payment portal. Students, you can set up supporters with their own payment portal, and that is done by you going into your payment portal and then going scrolling to My Account. It's the upper left-hand side, the upper left-hand menu. It's over here on this side. My Account, and then sending the supporter a supporter payment portal invitation. That's an email that they're going to get. They're going to use the validation link in that email. They're going to log in with the temporary password they receive in that email. Then once they are set up with the supporter payment portal, then they can use these supporters pay here links on our regular student accounts webpage to log in with their email address and that password that they've set up and make payments. And a supporter payment portal looks exactly like the student payment portal. Same information is going to be there. It'll show balances that are payable. It will also show what's due by and when. That is the items due by due date is listed under account activity in the payment portals. All that information is viewable right now. Financial aid is not viewable in payment portals. We're hoping to have that fixed before fall term is going, but I'm not sure that will actually happen. We certainly are working on making financial aid viewable in the payment portals, but that is not a functionality that's there right now. So if you have financial aid, you're still going to want to set up those Share My Information reports so that supporters can see financial aid pending and not have to wait for it to hit before they go and make the payments. All right, I'm just about to the end. Actually, I'm at the end because Saul already covered all this. Your aid is offered, is then accepted. Don't forget those to-do list items, including entrance counseling, master promissory notes, verifications. Aid will be dispersed 1 week before classes begin. Disbursement just means it goes from the financial aid office to student accounts, and we are going to apply that aid based on rules. Those rules are, we will first apply your financial aid to unpaid balances and registration and other fees. If there's enough to cover all of that, we will apply that aid to unpaid balances for that term in housing. If there's enough to cover all of that as well, then we will apply your financial aid to unpaid balances for that term only in dining. And then if there's enough left over after all of that, then any excess is refunded to the student. So I think I've covered pretty much everything. Don't forget, it's the student account. Everything is driven through you students. Don't forget those portal in our regular portal, just in our regular Cal Poly student accounts website, those wonderful video guides that we have set for you with step-by-step instructions. And lastly, but not leastly, make sure students, when you are setting up your supporter, especially with that authorized release, make sure you share your EMPL ID with them and make sure you share that 4-digit access code with them. So when they call our office, we can actually speak to them about the details that are on the student account. I will stop sharing and go back to the regular screen.
Wow, John, that was a speed delivery presentation. Thank you so
You're welcome.
much. I just want everyone to know that the audience today is families and supporters. So all the information that John you provided for students will be providing to them during their time here on campus. There are some questions. We're gonna jump to those quickly. And if I'll try and remember if they've been discussed already, I might go over them. But the rest will quickly answer. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're 5 minutes past, but it looks like we'll stay a little bit longer. Are Cal grants only available to California residents?
Yes, anything that is any financial resource that is from the state, the student has to be a resident of California. And resident, I think John posted additional information to make sure that they contact the appropriate office. Resident doesn't mean the student now lives in California. They are a resident. There are specific rules and regulations they have to meet in order to establish that residency. But in short, the answer is yes. California grants are only for California residents.
Have all the scholarships been awarded?
They have not. So I am still working on some scholarships. They are very unique and specific. I will give you an example. So Lyman is for Hawaii residents. I'm still working through those. There is a scholarship specific for Vallejo High School students. So these are very unique and specific scholarships that are still pending. Not sure where this person is from, but those are the two that I can think of. There's potentially maybe one or two others that are also in similar situation, but there are some scholarships that are still pending. For the most part, though, all others have been awarded.
If FAFSA hasn't been sent to SLO per instructions tonight, can a student access full tuition and fees info? My student has not received any information about costs for 26-27.
Yes, and I'm going to put so cost of attendance is public facing. Anybody can access that. You don't have to have received or even applied for financial aid to know how much is going to cost. We are required by law to publish those numbers. So the cost of attendance has been up for a while. I'm going to put the link here in response that you can view in anticipation and while you're waiting to receive the financial aid.
Thank you. Does out-of-state residency impact financial aid or scholarship decisions?
Out-of-state residency impacts financial aid and that perhaps they won't be eligible for in-state financial aid. We already talked about that. As far as scholarships, depends on the scholarship requirement. If they also have a residency component, then yes, it's going to impact that. For the most part, scholarships are merit-based and or need-based. So it won't ask or require that the student be a resident of California. It'll just look at FAFSA data and or their major, their GPA, extracurricular activities.
Here's uh, a a complex question. Is summer C term considered separate semester? That we know is yes. Or is the cost included in fall spring? It's not. Here's the question that I don't know if you know as yet. The travel to and from Texas or Maine for the summer C term 2026, is that included in the cost or is that an additional cost?
Yeah, it would be an additional cost. Summer C term fees that are posted on the account are going to be what uh, as if they show up and they get on the ship. That's getting to it is going to be whatever their costs are, just as getting to the university at any time is something separate. It's listed in the financial aid award as a potential cost. There's a travel expense, as a cost of attendance, but that's just an estimate. And we certainly are not going to post those things because we're not making those arrangements for the travel. That is on the student and the family to figure out their own travel arrangements and pay for them.
Can I add something else though? So with that, we are requesting that students have to find a way to get there, and that's an extra expense that we are not allocating initially, the student can request an appeal, similar to the appeal that we talked about, the student aid index. If income has changed, there is an appeal for an increase in cost of attendance. That appeal essentially says, I have an extra expense that you have not accounted for, or that you have only accounted for a limited amount. And I potentially may need additional financial aid resources. Those financial aid resources may come in the form of grants if we have them and the student qualifies, or it may just mean that the student needs to borrow a loan, or a parent needs to take out a loan, and it gives them that flexibility to borrow more money with that extra cost for the flight to get to and from Maine and or Texas, wherever it is that they're going. But it requires action on the student. The student has to be proactive and initiate that request for COA, or cost of attendance appeal, to let us know, I'm going there, I need extra money.
Thank you for that clarification, Saul. We know how families can access when and how families can access the portal. So next question is, our son attended, graduated from high school in California. Considering we as parents live outside the state, is there a way for him to qualify for in-state tuition?
It's going to be the same answer. Talk to the admissions office. They're the ones who who understand all the nuances of California residency status rules and regs. So that would be a great question for the admissions office. It's way more complicated than even I can wrap my head around. And I'll just share that right up front. It's so talk to the experts, and that would be the admissions office.
And that is admission@calpoly.edu is their email address. The 529 information was communicated, so we should be good on that. Will you talk to parents directly about financial aid if you have the appropriate approvals? FERPA releases, yes, right? Will
That
you
four-digit access code.
Will you talk to, oh, sorry, I got that one. Will there be leniency for past due fees for students that may be delayed in getting their financial aid done because of FAFSA not going too slow?
Yes, so obviously there, and especially with the transition, there's going to be some special circumstances. We do really expect students to be communicating with us and communicating with our financial aid office on that. Ideally, what will happen is if aid doesn't go in when it's supposed to, which is that first, that day, 1 week before classes begin, but there is anticipated aid showing up on the student account, that anticipated aid, even if it doesn't disperse properly, is going to create what we call a deferral, which basically means we see that there's aid coming. We're not going to make you pay us just so we can give you your money back when the aid goes in, and we will prevent registration holds and that kind of thing. So definitely leniency, but it does require some communication. Don't just assume, well, I had this problem and they'll figure it out. Unfortunately, it's a huge university. You're going from a campus of about 1,000 to a campus now with 2 campuses that is 25,000 students. So we do really think it's a great idea for the student to be a bit of a squeaky wheel and say, I have these issues and please help me. And we'll do everything in our power to make sure that they have success with that, understanding that stuff happens.
Thank you. And well, yes, we will have an opportunity for your student to meet up with Saul and Judy again when they're on campus during orientation. Will there be financial management segment? Yes, we not a financial management overarching, but they'll have FaceTime with Judy and Saul to get their questions answered. Can you please re-explain how to add a parent as an authorized supporter? That would take way too long. Please send me an email at vdhill02@calpoly with that request, and I will get that to the appropriate person to get you some information.
And Anita, can I add also this presentation, it's not this one exactly, but the one that we did for the slow students for slow days. I said it's being sliced and diced, and it will be up on our website. There's currently a really old one, although the numbers are definitely not what they are today. But the general gist of that presentation is still good. That would be in our video guide section of our regular website. in the
Mm-hmm.
supporter section. It's got 4 sections to it. It does outline a lot of things. The screenshots are outdated. Please don't pay attention to that. But in general, if you have a student and you want them to see some of this information, I would just say, let's sit down and watch that video. It's about 30 minutes combined altogether. And or then they can go over to the student side and then they can see those step-by-step instructions that they need to know how to do the supporter payment portal or whatever else. So those are the
Great
resources
point.
for you to share with everybody.
Great point, John. Thank you. My child can currently see his registration and other fees. How can he see the breakdown?
Perfect question. Great question. And yes, some first years inadvertently got their fees posted earlier than we were anticipating. Please understand that not all block scheduling is completed yet. So enrollment might change. And because enrollment might change, those fees may change. So please don't just pay it thinking, it's done, I got it. The full fees will be posted by August 6th. And then they won't be changing a whole lot more, or if they are, it's at the student's direction because they're changing their enrollment. In Money Matters, right below that Go Make a Payment Now button are 6 self-service options, the very last of which says View Account Activity. Clicking on that in the student's portal will take them to a module that will show them it's very granular, every charge, every payment, every credit. And it's almost too much for a lot of folks, but it will show all those details, as well as when fees are still outstanding, as in they haven't been paid yet. When you go to the student center, where a lot of this information is also repeated, you can open it up and see there's the balance. When you open it up, it shows all the underlying fees that are applying to that balance. So there's 2 places a student can see it in their portal. And if those balances are outstanding, Share My Information reports will actually show the line by line detail for those remaining balances, what hasn't been paid.
Thank you. Judy, you had included a website link. It seems to be broken. I checked too. If you can look at that afd.calpoly.edu and give us a newer link, that'd be helpful. Thank you. Do the 529 payments have to be broken down by tuition, housing, and dining, or does that get sorted out at the school?
It will get sorted out at the school if you don't delineate what it needs to be for. We're pretty good about doing that. I will say that we do follow rules if there is no delineation. Currently, the rule is we will apply any payment that's received to tuition, registration, and other fees first before anything else. Understanding that's generally speaking what people want to have covered first. After that, we will play it based on due date for housing and dining. So we'll pay the first housing payment, then the first dining payment, then the second housing payment, second dining payment, and so on and so forth. But generally speaking, even if there's a term payment plan that's been signed up for, we will apply that payment. If we don't know, we will apply that payment based on tuition registration balances first, because that is usually the most important one for students to get paid.
Thank you. Thank you, Judy, you had already posted the corrected website. I just saw that. Thank you. So my hope is that this particular recording will get posted by Tuesday next week, so your student will have access to it, should you choose to bring them to that webpage to look at it. Can you speak to WUI scholarship we received last year? Has it been grandfathered in for out-of-state cadets for the next 3 years?
The short answer is it's not been grandfathered, but there's a substitute called the Maritime Institute. It's called MIST. I'm trying to remember what the full acronym stands for. Maybe Judy remembers.
Maritime in-state tuition.
Maritime in-state tuition. So essentially, while we will still post non-res fees and tuition and our CPOF fee, there will be financial aid granted to those students that will cover, or those fees will end up being waived out. So it will be like. It will
Sorry.
be like the WUI was.
Net result will be WUI charges. If the FAFSA hasn't been set to sent to slow per instruction, oh, we got that one. Is there leniency for students waiting for ROTC scholarships?
Hmm. So ROTC is still considered and run through our Center for Military Connected Students, I believe. And so they would definitely want to be communicating with that center about how that is being affiliated. But yes, we do have we have resources that will prevent adverse consequences for students that are waiting for things that maybe are not fully completed, especially by that financial aid disbursement due date. And it's just like anything else. So we would want them to start with their ROTC person and also do connect up with the Center for Military Connected Students here at Cal Poly.
How is a payment plan requested if one is needed?
For term payment plans, that is done by the student in their student center. It takes about 30 seconds for them to do. They go into their student center. They're going to click on finances in the left-hand menu and then payment plans and then agree to 3 pages worth of agreements. Basically, just check the box and click yes, 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 and the payment plan's created.
Thank you. Saul, if the tuition and other fees are public facing, what information will be released on August 6th?
That was a question for me. I think he said, if I indicated this, what is being released on the 6th? So it is the student's bill, essentially. So each student will get their bill posted on that date. The fees that are posted on the website that are public facing may not apply to everybody. Fees like uniform. Not everybody has to have a uniform, so not everybody will have a uniform cost. But if you know that your student will have a uniform cost, then you can look on the website to find out what that cost is going to be when it does get public or made available to the student on that date. Similarly to housing charge, perhaps maybe there won't be a housing charge because the student won't be on campus. They're going to be living off campus. So the student's specific and charges unique to that student was being determined on that date and made public.
Thank you for the clarification. Does financial aid cover orientation? It does not. It's a different kind of fee. And if your student hasn't registered yet, please have them do so. If they have any questions, have them contact me at their earliest convenience. Is there a link where folks can learn more about MIST?
I just posted that there.
All
Scroll to the
right.
bottom, towards the bottom of the page, there is a missed FAQ section.
Wow, look at these rock stars. 3 cheers for our 3 presenters today. We have gone way past our allocated time. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here this evening and helping our families and supporters really get an understanding of what they're getting themselves into and clarifying all their questions with you. Thank you so much. Families, thank you again for joining us and being part of your students' educational journey. I would love to stay behind if there are any questions related, unrelated to our presenters today. With that, I want to say thank you again and see you another time. Have a wonderful evening, Judy, Saul, and John. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Any questions for me? I know I'm keeping you from your dinner and things to be done in the evening. Anyone want to unmute and ask their questions if they're not typing or writing?
Hi, Vanita. Thank
Hi,
you.
April. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I forget what his name was, but he went over how to do the payment plan, but he
Mm-hmm.
said pretty fast. Is it
Yes.
another resource or a video or something that can kind of walk us through that?
You will, Slow is amazing about having videos for everything. So if you go to the website that we talked about and watch the videos, that would be great. And another resource would be to wait till Tuesday.
Okay.
And I will post this recording, or this recording will be posted. And once it's posted, you could go in. It would probably be at 1 hour and 20 minutes or 18 minutes. If you just get to that point, you'll hear him talk about how to do the plan and follow along.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, wasn't, I don't remember what everything he said, or I would have repeated it. Anyone else? All right, 6:55. Oh, sorry. Is there
Yes.
anyone?
I don't know whether you've answered this question, but can financial aid be used towards orientation fees?
It cannot.
Yes.
Orientation fees are a different kind of category of fees, and they have to be paid up front. Has your student not registered yet?
No, we haven't registered. That's on our
Ah.
to-do list, so we need to get that done ASAP. So thank you so
Yeah.
much for
Of
clarifying.
course. Sorry about any confusion on where financial aid would be applicable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah. All right. Thank you again for being here today. I can't wait to meet all of you when you're here on campus in 4 weeks. We'll see you on the 30th. That's our next session on dining and residential life. And the one after that is going to be academic success. And finally, on the 6th of August, we'll speak about sense of belonging, how we build that here for your students. Until then, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you on the 30th. Bye-bye.